Good afternoon. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish this before the baby wakes up. My 3 tips would be to have sufficient time for teachers and the students to do their work well. At Jeff Davis, we have a 90-minute planning, so that's amazing. I feel like we do have sufficient time to get everything done as far as planning and collaborating. Close supportive teacher-student relationships and teacher-teacher and student-teacher relationships. Those are all important. It's difficult to teach someone who doesn't care for you, or they notice that you don't care for them. I think that's the first thing we must establish first, is a relationship, and then you can be able to teach the kids. My last one would be that leadership encourages and protects trust on the job learning, flexibility, risk taking, innovation, and adaptation to change. At Jeff Davis, we are encouraged to think outside the box. If we see that a strategy works better than, say, what Eureka Math is teaching, then they give us all access to just try that. And we have found for a division, I don't know if other school systems do this or not, but it's called Market and Move It. A Market Move It is just a different way to divide, and our admin has allowed us to have that flexibility once we've seen that works for our kids, to use that without any guidelines as far as, make sure you're doing the curriculum with fidelity. We all love that word, fidelity. And so that's important, I feel like, when we as teachers are valued and what our input on the curriculum, it goes a long ways. A success story I think about often, how I dealt with a difficult parent, and the 6 types of parental that I used was parental involvement, communicating through Dojo. Dojo takes the message that you have and it will translate it to Spanish. There was a parent that was really struggling with accessing just a lot of the documents and just curriculum in general, as far as what we're teaching and how we're teaching and how to help her child. So I downloaded a video. I sent her a video, and she was able to use that video to help her child in math. Various things throughout the year, I was able to use Dojo, because once again it translates it, and so that helped to go back to being able to establish that communication, and there was no gaps in between our relationship as far as the communicating part. And I think that's important. They trust us with their kids, and having that relationship and that communication open is important, I feel like. The child ended up doing very well in my class, and so that was a big success story. The parent was a bit upset at first, and she came around to understand where we were coming from and to use the resources that we had available. I can easily share an example of direct leadership. So previously, we had admin that was by the book. You had to do it this way. This is the only way. There's no other way to do things. It was his way. And for example, we suggested a schedule. And when we suggested that schedule that would work, it would work for everyone. It wasn't just, for something that would only appeal to 4th grade. But because of his way only, it did not change. So now we're kind of dealing with that now that he's gone. Some benefits of that was he did not play favorites. There were no favorites. There was no one that stood out to where he gave them their way. It was his way completely. He would listen to us, it felt like, but in the end, it was just his way. Let's see. Benefits to this approach. This is new, and he did have a great idea with this. We were kind of angry at first about this change, because once again, it was his way. No input was needed. He's going to do it his way. Recess began to be, it was changed as of this year. We had to go back traditionally to where we took our kids out to recess, which is fine. I love being outside. The benefit to that is in contrast to the connection teachers taking the kids out, is we deal with the behavior now. And of course, when they come in for recess, it's, oh, they did this and that one did that. Well, so now we deal with it because we're out there, and it does help with the behavior a lot better. So I could see some benefits, but overall, it was tough. Everyone was felt like they was walking on pins and needles all the time. An alternate example of a facilitator style is very different now. That it's more laid back and our input is valued, and he does take into consideration what we say, and we do understand there are guidelines and there's rules and there's certain ways we still have to do things no matter what, but it's not as stressful. We don't have someone breathing down our back about every little situation. We feel like we do not have to stress as much, and so I feel like in the end that makes us feel better about our jobs. It makes us feel more confident in our job. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.